All right, now we're breaking down the co-main event that will take place right before the top 10 bantamweights finish the morning off for us American viewers who will be suffering throughout the middle of the night, like myself, which I will not be. But this co-main event, depending on how it goes, will make that all the wait to get to the final two fights worth it if we get a knockout, drag 'em out brawl that Alonzo Atomic Menefield is always known for delivering, but sometimes he is at the opposite end of the victory, uh, like the person who's victorious. In his case, he is coming off of getting knocked out his last fight. Volkan Uzmir, who, let's be honest, he's a top 10 light heavyweight, which I don't know what that means today, but still. A man who used to be in the top 10 himself or top 15 himself was Zhang Mingyang before he lost um almost 10 months ago. It was August of last year, as you can tell right there in his last fight record, that he hasn't fought since he was in not this place because he was in Shanghai last year. Now he's in Macau this year. And to lose in the main event and to do it to Johnny Walker, who, let's be honest, Johnny Walker has had a good experience when it comes to main events against Thiago Santos, against Jamal Hill, even though that went horribly for him. It went the opposite and horrible when it came to Zhang Minyang, and it was excellent for Johnny Walker. But now he's taken 10 months off to get himself back to 100% to take on the man who had just taken his ranking from himself just a few weeks ago. Because a few weeks ago, the rankings were Zhang was 15 and Alonzo was even in the rankings. And now he's back in it. And this fight is basically for who is going to be a top 15 light heavyweight after this fight is over. And if you ask me, if Alonzo Menefield goes out there and just goes all out like most case he usually does, then that's going to lead to him keeping the ranking next to his name. But I think we're going to have, in my opinion, a more just patient and calculated, dialed in Zhang Mingyang when he goes in there and he doesn't make this weekend what it has to be like he did last year. He's going to go in there and realize the mistakes he did make and not make the same ones. Now, if he does, if he loses this fight back to back fight nights, co-main event, main events in China, that might be a curse. I mean, I'm not saying he should never fight there again. I'm saying fight somewhere else and then see if it's not just China where you lose your UFC fights. But going back to his fights, let's look at the last three opponents for both these gentlemen. So, like I said, Zhang, he fought Johnny Walker last August. Then he retired Anthony Smith, and he beat the guy who just got retired by Atiba Gautier a few weeks ago in Ozzy Diaz. And it's like, was Ozzy Diaz a better middleweight than he was a light heavyweight when he fought Zhang? I don't know. All I know is that that was his third last opponent, and that he has a very limited UFC record. He is 3-1. His only other victory and his only other bout in the UFC is the second best win I put down there. Bretson Hibero, he's not bad, but he has way more losses than he has wins. He's very much like the Kurt Hollabaugh of the light heavyweight division. Yes. 2-7 in the UFC. That dude, that's a record. But now, Alonzo Menefield, he is, like I said, he went up huge in the difficulty in contenders when he went to Volkan Uzmir from Omar Sy. Like he fought in the fight night in Atlanta last year, and main event was Buckley versus Kamaru Usman, and he got a win over the undefeated at the time, who was just 2-0 in the UFC, Omar Sy. And at the time, yes, Alonzo was still had a ranking next to his name, so Omar was attempting to take the ranking away from Alonzo. And he absolutely did not allow that. And Alonzo reminded everybody why he's one of the best light heavyweights in the world. But then he goes from that bout to Volkan Oezdemir was definitely like all right, let's see what you got. And then you got first round TKO'd. And I watched that fight. It was definitely where Alonzo just goes in there, just like he did against his fight against the current light heavyweight champion in Carlos Oldberg, and it ended in 13 seconds. That's because he went in there, tried to end him in 12 seconds, and he just got caught in the second after. But it's the same. game plan that his teammate from Fortis MMA, Kennedy and Nzechukwu, did against Carlos, and that's how he has the only victory against the light heavyweight champion in the world right now. So again, Alonzo Menefield, if you look at his best three wins, Dustin Jacoby, Jimmy Crute, Omar Sy, these are way better opponents than Zhang has. But let's look at the losses, shall we? Like I said, he's lost to the number 9 and the number 8, and the champion are his last three losses. And all of Alonso's losses since he made his debut, I believe it was back in 2019. Yep, it was 2019. He made his because he came off the Contender Series in 2018. Yes, got that right. And since he's came in, he's had a couple losses or three losses before he lost to the top of the division in Ovince St. Preux, former interim title challenger, multiple UFC main eventer. Devin Clark, another main eventer who lost to Anthony Smith, hilarious. And William Knight, the man that is the most overrated fighter I think I've ever seen in the UFC. No offense, William. But one fight, that was your last UFC fight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you go over to Zong's, he has a loss to Johnny Walker, the only loss in the UFC. None of his other losses in the regional scene are against anybody that's noteworthy. But it does show a trend that he is chinny. He can get knocked out. He can get submitted by guillotine and rear naked choke. Although I wouldn't say Alonzo is like, wow, just you guys be on the lookout for his submissions. I mean, he did get Crute with that guillotine choke. I will admit that. That was something that I was not expecting when they had the rematch after their first fight went to a draw, and then they rematched, and then he submitted him with Pat Barry in his corner, which was hilarious. But now we're going to see what he looks like coming off of a loss to Volkan Oezdemir against a man who has also come off a loss in his own country. With that being said, my prediction is Zhang Mingyang will not lose two times in a row in his home country. I love Alonzo Menefield. He's in Colorado doing training to get his cardio up. You know, definitely a thing he might need to, continue doing. Even if he loses this fight, I don't think that it means that what he's doing to improve his training is not working. He's just fighting the man in his backyard, 6,000 miles away from his. So with that, like I said, I'm going with Zhang Mingyang by, I don't want to say decision because I want to see a finish, but yeah, I'm going to say 3-round decision. All right, and with that being said, thank you all. I'll get the next one out